start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York.
Hello, people. Welcome to J-Ho, the Sports Dude. Welcome to episode 2 of my sports podcast, and it's such a wonderful day. Hold on, let me shut this off. So today, I get to talk about how today is actually my birthday, so I'm really excited about that. Hold on, let me, why don't we have some music for my birthday, shall we? So, here we go. Woohoo! So, yeah, so this week the Red Sox gave me the greatest birthday gift of all time. They beat the New York Yankees in the first series of the postseason. So, all right, that's enough music. So, why don't we? So actually, before we start the show, why don't we actually listen to what the New York Yankee fans were saying before the series started? Yeah, here. Let's have a quick listen, shall we? So, I don't know if you guys heard about this on the internet, but this is what the Yankee fans said. Yeah, so remember that? And this is what they sound like right now that they lost. Yankees. All right then. So before we do a recap, I just gotta play this to recap what happened this weekend. Just one more jab at the Yankees, and then we'll be done with. So David Ortiz, what happened to the Yankees this weekend?
Yankees lose.
All right then. So, yeah, it was a pretty good weekend for me. So, on this podcast, we'll be recapping what happened during the series, and we'll be previewing the next series, which is Astros and Red Sox. So that'll be an exciting series, and whoever wins that series gets to go to the World Series. And then we'll also be previewing the Patriots Chiefs game coming this Sunday, which I didn't expect to be one of the marquee matchups of the year, but this might be the most significant matchup of the year for the Patriots. So we'll see. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll also be talking about the Bruins win streak this week with wins over the Senators, Oilers, and Red Wings, plus more exciting stuff to come. So first, let's start with the Red Sox and the Yankees. So you saw how I had my fun at the beginning. So I'm gonna briefly recap each game, explain what happened, because we have a lot of stuff to go over. So I'll try to briefly go over what happened in each game in case you didn't watch the game. So for game 1, Sox won 5-4. Chris Sale looked really good. JD Martinez hit a 3-run homer on Happ, who I actually thought would pitch well against the Red Sox. He didn't. He got taken out of the 3rd inning after allowing 2 Sox on base. And the Sox added 2 runs with a Pierce single and a Xander Bogaerts sacrifice fly. And Sale left the 6th inning after 2 singles. And then after that, the bullpen happened. And the bullpen almost gave me 5 heart attacks because they were pretty bad. Ryan Brazier sucked. He had no command. He threw the ball in the dirt. And then after he got pulled out, Brandon Workman came in to load the bases, but got the final out at the end of the inning at the 6th. But he sucked in the 7th with 2 hits, and so they had to bring in Matt Barnes, who loaded up the bases and allowed a run, but was able to get out of the inning with an infield out. Then Rick Porcello came in and was a godsend, considering who just pitched before, and he got 2 outs, but was taken out after he got allowed a hit. And then Kimbrel came in and ended the inning with a pop-up out. And Sandy Leon was a hero in this game because there were some balls that were completely out of control, and he blocked a lot of balls so the Yankees would not move up to the bases. So in the 9th inning, Kimbrel allowed a home run to Judge, but after that, he struck out 3 straight batters. And so after this game, I would say I was encouraged because they won, and they were able to beat up on Happ, who I thought would pitch well, but I was also discouraged because the bullpen was really, really, really bad. So into game 2, I was encouraged but discouraged. On to game 2. The Yankees won this game 6-2. So remember last week how I said hopefully David Price would turn around? Yeah, that didn't exactly happen. Price, he just turned back into Price. He allowed a home run off Aaron Judge in the 1st inning, and in the 2nd inning, he allowed a Gary Sanchez home run, and then Price was basically pulled out after putting Yankees on base and allowing a run to come in off of Torres. And then Xander Bogaerts gave the Red Sox some hope with a home run. And I guess one of the highlights of the game was Ryan Brazier told Sanchez to get in a box and struck him out. But then all the hope was lost when Gary Sanchez hit a 3-run home run against Rodriguez. And so in this game, Tanaka was a beast, and Price was anything but a beast. In fact, he was really, really bad. And so after that, I was pretty worried going into New York. And plus, and like not it just kind of seemed like the momentum was going the Yankees' way. And also after this game, was the moment where Aaron Judge decided to play New York, right next to the Red Sox, the Reds in Fenway Park. So that made me pretty mad. So, and that's kind of the reason why I played that music at the beginning. And while it definitely wasn't a reason why the Yankees lost this series, I think it definitely motivated the Red Sox because when they beat the Yankees in Game 4, they played New York while celebrating. So I think it definitely was on their mind. So, and then Game 3 was Game 3. I was worried going into Game 3, and then after Game 3, I was that worry. A lot of the worries went away. In Game 3, the Red Sox beat up on the Yankees pretty badly. Saying they beat up on the Yankees is an understatement. They beat them 16-2, which is the worst loss by a Yankees team in the postseason. And isn't it great that it came against the Red Sox? So basically the Red Sox out-hit them, they ran over them, they pitched well against them, and they eventually homered against them. And speaking of that, the interesting thing about this game is the Red Sox actually didn't hit a home run until the 9th inning, in which basically the game was already over. So, and when you look at a score like 16-2, you'd think that the Red Sox just hit a bunch of home runs, but they actually didn't. They basically just hit the ball really well. They out-hit the Yankees 18-5. You heard that, 18-5. And also, Brock Holt hit a cycle, which is a single, double, triple, and a home run. And that's actually never happened in the postseason. So, way to go, Brock Holt. And Luis Severino was pretty bad. He looked. No, I don't know if he was David Price bad, but he was pretty bad. He looked awful with a hit after hit and walk after walk. And like I said last week, I told you that Evaldi, he has a way of performing well against the Yankees, and that game he performed really well. He was a beast. And also apparently Severino was tipping pitches. Whatever. Whatever. He just stunk. And this game put a lot of, like I said, I put a lot of my worries aside, but it didn't put away the worries about the bullpen, which I was still worried about. But they didn't really need to use the bullpen because they were blowing them out. So, but I knew that they had to win one more game, so I knew we had to move on and move on to the next game. And in Game 4, the Red Sox won 4-3. This game kind of started like Game 3 did, with the Red Sox scoring first and the Yankees pitcher not really looking that good. CC Sabathia didn't look very good. He got people on base, and Porcello was pitching really well. Porcello is another guy that he tends to play well. For some reason, he tends to play well against the Yankees, and so they were able to get 3 runs off CC Sabathia before Boone had to take him out. And in the fourth, and then the Yankees brought in the bullpen, and in the 4th inning, Vasquez hit a home run off of Britton. And then Porcello was taken out and replaced by Matt Barnes in the 6th inning after Porcello allowed a run in the 5th, which made me worried because how worried I was about the bullpen and how awful it was. But when they came in, they actually performed really well. Matt Barnes and Ryan Brazier did their job in the 7th and 8th inning and got outs. And in the 8th inning, to my surprise, Chris Sale got in the game, and I was actually happy because I didn't really trust anybody else. I didn't really trust anybody on the bullpen, and so he did his job and got 3 outs to end the inning. And the Yankees bullpen actually did really well, minus the Christian Vasquez home run, which turned out to be the difference in the game. So the Yankees bullpen did their job and did really well. And then we go to Craig Kimbrell at the end in the 9th inning. Where do we even begin? So it starts off with him walking Aaron Judge, then a single off Didi Gregorius, and then I'm looking at the TV, and Stanton comes up to the plate, and even though Stanton wasn't really doing anything that game, you knew that Stanton, if he hit the ball out of the park, it would have tied the game. So I was really, really worried. And so, but then Kimbrell struck Stanton out, and my nerves calmed down a bit. And then next thing you know, he walked Voit to load the bases, and now I'm in full panic mode and almost having a heart attack. Then Neil Walker got hit, which led in a run, and also the bases were still loaded. So now I'm starting to think the Red Sox are going to blow this game. And then Sanchez pops one out into the field, and I'm just worried. Oh God, is it good? Please don't make it a home run. Just, please no home run. And luckily, it was just a pop out to Benintendi, which did allow a run. But considering what was happening in this inning, I would have taken it out. So, and the next thing you know, Torres is at the plate, and I'm thinking, okay, Torres I don't worry too much about Torres, so maybe this will go pretty well, even though if you put so far any faith in Kimbrell is lost. And so next thing you know, Torres hits the ball infield, and then I'm like, please get him out, and then Nunez throws a rocket to Steve Pearce at first base to get the final out at the end of the game, and next thing you know, I'm jumping up and down and celebrating the Red Sox winning in Yankee Stadium. And then Boone did challenge it at the end, which made me worried for a second, but when I saw the play, I knew he was out. And yes, the call did stand. So that's my recap of the game. So why don't we go into each of the factors to why the Red Sox won and the Yankees lost. So I think one of the biggest factors is the Red Sox starting pitching played well, and while the Yankees starting pitching, for the most part, did not. I'll rephrase it. So most of the Red Sox starting pitching played well, and most of the Yankees starting pitching did not. Chris Sale had an ERA of 2.84 and a WHIP of 1.05. Nathan Eovaldi had an ERA of 1.29 and a WHIP of 0.714. And Rick Porcello had a ERA of 1.5 and a WHIP of 0.882. And Price, he had an ERA of 16.2 and a WHIP of 3, but at this point he's kind of a lost cause. And as far as the Yankees, J-Hap had an ERA of 2.25 and a WHIP of 2.5. Luis Severino had an ERA of 18 and a WHIP of 3. And CC Sabathia had an ERA of 9 and a WHIP of 2.333. And Masahiro Tanaka was their only good pitcher in this series. He had an ERA of 1.8 and a WHIP of 0.8. I think the biggest factor is the Red Sox starting pitching played well, and the Yankees starting pitching did not, and that was able to mask for the most part the bullpen, which I'm still not 100% sure about, but the fact that they were able to get good starting pitching from the starters for the most part was able to allow the bullpen to not hover its ugly head too much. And I did kind of underplay this last week, but after watching this series, it really stood out. Another factor is the managing. I think the fact that Cora outmanaged Aaron Boone was a big factor in the series. It seemed like every call that Alex Cora made in a critical situation worked very well. In Game 1, when the bullpen was teetering and looking awful, he brought in Rick Porcello in the 8th in Game 1, and that was able to register some outs to make sure the Yankees didn't get any runs. And he started Brock Holt in Game 3, and like I said, Holt became the first player in postseason history to hit for a cycle. And in Game 4, he reinserted Ian Kinsler for Holt in Game 4, which made a lot of people scratch their head because Brock Holt had a cycle, and you would think that you would bring him back after his Game 3 performance, but it worked out very well. Kinsler doubled with a run with a rocket in the 3rd inning and scored the 3rd run in the game for a 3-0 lead. And Nunez himself was back in the lineup for Rafael Devers, who had 2 hits and two runs in Game 3. And he also started Christian Vasquez in Game 4 to catch for Rick Porcello for the first time all year, and which I think a lot of people scratched their head because Sandy Leon was doing so well, especially when the relievers were nearly throwing the ball behind Sandy Leon, and he kept blocking him, and Christian Vasquez hadn't cotton from Rick Porcello all year, but not only did Porcello have 5 great innings, Vasquez hit his first home run since June 6th, and he also worked the bullpen really well in Game 4, taking Porcello out, even though he allowed just 1 run in 5 innings, and he perfectly used Matt Barnes, Ryan Brazier, and then Chris Sale, who did really well. And so it seemed like everything Alex Cora did worked. As far as Aaron Boone, that wasn't exactly the case. It just kind of seemed like things that he did wrong, some of the decisions he made they just didn't work out. It seemed like he waited too long to pull Severino in Game 3 when he was deteriorating. And then the next night, it kind of seemed like he made the same mistake again. It seemed like he took too long to pull CC Sabathia in Game 4, and also he used Lance Lynn instead of any other of the relievers after taking out Luis Severino, and basically Lance Lynn basically just ruined any chance that the Yankees had of coming back by putting up 6 runs and making it 10-0. So adding to the 4-0 lead that Luis Severino put up on the board. And so also I heard a statement why Aaron Boone decided to keep CC Sabathia in the game. So this is exactly what he said. He was at the 2-out point. We were going to have him through Jackie Bradley. Simple as that. We just kind of knew we had our guys lined up enough that we could, especially had we got to the point we could get through the game. I think it was a sound decision to move him. Allow him to go through Bradley at that point. He had got Nunez. So essentially, he wanted to keep CC Sabathia till Jackie Bradley. Well, at that time, CC was at Benintendi, and he hit Benintendi. And Benintendi was second in the lineup, and Jackie Bradley was 8th. So I don't really get what Aaron Boone was thinking, and I don't think a lot of Yankee fans get what he was thinking, considering everybody wants him fired. So, yeah. And so, also, I think another factor is definitely the Red Sox hitters. They got hits, and the Yankees did not. 5 batters for the Red Sox hit over 300. J.D. Martinez, Steve Pearce, Christian Vasquez, Mitch Moreland, and Ian Kinsler. And Xander Bogaerts, Andrew Benintendi, Rafael Devers also were very solid this series. And I thought Andrew Benintendi made some clutch hits, especially in Game 1 and 3. For the Yankees, not so much. For a team that broke the record for most home runs as a team in a season, apparently the greatest home run team of all time, they only hit 4 home runs. 2 of them were off Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez. And none of them were actually at home in Yankee Stadium. Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres were the only hitters that hit over 300. Most of the other hitters, from Didi Gregorius to Miguel Andujar, were either mediocre or just terrible. And then there was Giancarlo Stanton. Where do we even begin with this guy? I remember when I heard that the Yankees acquired Giancarlo Stanton from the Miami Marlins, in which Derek Jeter just gift-wrapped him to his old team, and I remember being super pissed. Like, I kind of felt that it brought back the feeling of when Kevin Durant went to the Golden State Warriors, a team that I didn't, and I hate the Yankees more than I don't like the Golden State Warriors, and so I was really, really mad because you already had a team that was already really good offensively, and then you added the guy who the previous year won the MVP and had the most home runs. And so I remember I was just really, really mad. However, now looking back in retrospect, I'm kind of happy that he's on the Yankees right now because, one, the Yankees are kind of stuck with him with that really, really expensive contract. And also, he just didn't seem to perform well in the playoffs. It was like he was suffering from A-Rod-itis. Like, whenever he didn't have the worst batting average, but that would be Miguel Andujar. But whenever the Yankees needed a home run or a big hit, he usually just didn't seem to show up. Like, especially in game 4, in which there were two Yankees on bases, and a home run would have tied the game, and that's essentially what he was brought to the Yankees for, to hit home runs. That's what he was. He wasn't exactly brought here to play defense or anything. He was brought to hit home runs, and he just struck out. So usually when the Yankees had any momentum, he just killed it, which makes me happy. But as far as stats, he had a batting average of 0.222, and he went 4 for 18. And remember how I said he was brought here to hit home runs? All 4 of his hits were singles. He didn't have a single home run in this series. And also, I think the last factor I'll mention is the defense. The Red Sox and the running. I think the Red Sox, the fact that they played great defense and they ran on the Yankees while making some clutch catches was able to, and some first base outs was able to put them over the edge on the Yankees. Especially as far as getting outs at first base, especially that Steve Pearce catch from Nunez in Game 4. The Yankees did not have a ton of clutch defensive plays, and there aren't that many players on the Yankees that you're afraid of that could steal a base. So, in the end, the Red Sox were just the better team. So, I think even Yankee fans could agree with that. So, in the end, I think the better team won, and now the Red Sox are moving on, and the Yankees are going home. All right, so next we have the Red Sox playing the Houston Astros, and I think this is truly a battle of two powerhouses with last year's defending champion against the team with the best record in baseball this year. This year, the Astros won 103 games, which is actually more than last year when they did win the World Series, and the Red Sox won 108 games, which is the most in Red Sox history. So this year, the Houston Astros and the Red Sox played 7 times, and Houston won 4 of the 7 games, outscoring Boston 34-31. However, Houston were at home 4 out of the 7 games, so I would say it was a pretty even series. So looking at this matchup, we have the MLB's best offense this year, statistically, and the best pitching staff this year, statistically. The Red Sox led the majors in runs scored, batting average, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and even ranked 3rd in the MLB in stolen bases. And also, the Astros led in run prevention, allowing 534 runs, which comes up to around 3.3 runs per game. And also, they led in bullpen ERA and bullpen FIP. And they also ranked 4th in defensive efficiency. So looking at the stats to compare both teams, this year Boston ranked 1st in offense and Houston was 6th. And Houston was 1st in ERA and Boston was 8th. And so unlike the previous series, this is a 7-game series. And so far, we know that the first matchup is going to be Justin Verlander versus Chris Sale, and the game 2 is going to be Garrett Cole versus David Price. The rest of the games is the pitchers haven't been announced yet. I think Rick Porcello is going to pitch game 3, but don't take my word for it quite yet. So, all right then. So a big factor in this series in whether or not the Red Sox can win this series against the Houston Astros is the starting pitching, because the Astros pitching is really, really good. I mean, you have Justin Verlander, and I mean, his reputation speaks for itself. He's probably going to go down as one of the greatest pitchers ever. Garrett Cole, Dallas Keuchel, and Charlie Morton. And also, they have in the bullpen Roberto Osuna, Lance McCullers Jr., Ryan Presley, Josh James, Colin McHugh, and Hector Rodon. And all of them have a big velocity up in the zone. And I would say this bullpen is more refined than last year's bullpen. And also, it's important for the Red Sox starters to do well, because I still don't completely trust the bullpen, even though I would say after Game 1 they've played a lot better. And I, of course, still don't trust Craig Kimbrell very much. So Game 1's pitching matchup is really important, because you have the two best pitchers in this series. Chris Sale and Justin Verlander going at each other. And if Chris Sale pitches well in Game 1 and the Red Sox win Game 1, I think it takes some pressure off David Price. And speaking of David Price, I think at this point he's kind of a lost cause, and I don't really have a ton of faith in him. I think the only silver lining about David Price is last year in the playoff series between the Red Sox and Astros, David Price was a reliever and he pitched really well, but that's really all I got. I think another factor is obviously how the Red Sox starting lineup will do. They look really good against the Yankees. However, also I think it's for all the Red Sox superstars to show up in this series. I didn't mention this, but Mookie Betts, honestly, I think he had an underwhelming performance against the Yankees. He had a batting average of 188, so by his standards, that was definitely low for him. But I do think Mookie Betts will play much better against Houston. This year, Betts was a 7 for 11 with 3 doubles against the Houston Astros, and Xander Bogaerts also batted 4 against them with 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and 6 RBIs. And Nunez hit 4-2-1, and Benintendi was 3-3-3 with 2 home runs. And I think they are definitely capable of it. Interestingly enough, Boston was ranked 9th in home runs, and Houston was ranked 10th. So I think it's important that him, J.D. Martinez, and Andrew Benintendi, Xander Bogaerts perform well. And also, I think for the Red Sox to win, they might need to hit some home runs this year, because since the Houston Astros, their pitching is really good, it's going to limit the amount of opportunities for them to score. So I think in order to score in this series, they should hit some dingers out of the park. Also, this year, Boston's offense had an OPS of 0.817 against right-handed pitchers, which led the American League, and the Red Sox are probably going to face 5 right-handed starters in the first 6 games of this series. Also, another thing to look at is Carlos Correa, who this year has only hit .18 with a 0.517 OPS in 37 regular season games after returning from the disabled list. And this week, Correa says that he feels some pain when he swings, so he's gonna play through injury. And the Astros sweep did provide him 4 days of rest, but I think look out for him, because he might be a guy that will not be as effective for them as he was last year. So overall, looking at this series, I would say, like last time, I think most experts, I think even more this time, most experts are picking the Astros to win this series. And honestly, unlike last time, I actually, probably objectively speaking, for the most part, the Astros look like the better team. They have pitching, they have bullpen, they are the reigning World Series champions, so they've been here before. But however, I actually think the Red Sox can get it done again. I think I'm actually picking the Red Sox to win in 7. They got home field, and like last week, I said that they were the best team at home with a 57-24 record, and also Alex Cora last year was an offensive coach for the Astros, so I think he can figure out ways how to attack the Houston Astros. So I'm I'm gonna pick Red Sox in 7, and I think it'll be a classic series. All right, then we'll take a break, and next we'll look at the Patriots and Chiefs matchup this week, which is gonna be the marquee matchup of the week and probably the season. All right, welcome back. This is J Ho, the sports dude at WMUA, and why don't we talk about the Patriots and Chiefs matchup this week? So this is definitely probably one of the biggest matchups of the year, and so why don't we look at both teams, and why don't we start with the Chiefs? So the Chiefs, along with the Rams, the are the only undefeated teams in the NFL. Uh, Obviously, when you look at the Chiefs, the biggest strength of them is the offense. Offensively, they're loaded. They have Travis Kelce, who, if I believe, is probably the second best tight end in the NFL. They got Tyreek Hill. They got Sammy Watkins. Plus, they got Kareem Hunt in the backfield. And plus, they got Patrick Mahomes, who, in my mind, right now is the leading candidate for MVP. He's completing 63.6% of his passes. He's thrown for 1,513 yards, and he has 14 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. Plus, he has a rocket arm that's very much Aaron Rodgers-esque, I think. And now let's talk about the Patriots, who right now are ninth in points per game, but in back-to-back weeks, last week against the Colts and 2 weeks ago against the Miami Dolphins, they have scored 38 points in back-to-back games. So I think the offense has clicked pretty well so far. And obviously the Patriots have Tom Brady, who's the greatest quarterback of all time, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski, James White, Sonny Michel, who's really impressed me the last 2 weeks, and Josh Gordon, who I think is starting to get the hang of the offense a little better. And I think both teams are a bit shaky on defense. And so as far as yards per game, the Patriots are 16th, which is not very good. However, the Kansas City Chiefs are ranked last. However, the Chiefs are 32nd in the league as far as yards per game, which means that they are the worst team as far as yards per game. And points per game, as far as points allowed, New England is 24th, and Kansas City is 14th, so kind of pretty mediocre. So here are the things the Patriots need to do to win this game. One, they gotta take away or at least limit Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Those are their superstars, and those are their game breakers. And if you let them go off, it's going to be a very, very ugly afternoon. And Belichick's strength, even though the defense isn't great, his strength is usually he'll take away your biggest weapon. And those two are definitely their biggest weapons. Also, I think for the Patriots to win, I think they should run the ball a decent amount of times. Because, first of all, the Kansas City Chiefs are ranked 24th in rushing defense. So they're not very good as far as stopping the run. And also, I think Sonny Michel has proven that he's a solid running back for the Patriots. Also, James White you can throw in there too. And I think running the ball will be important because I think the defense is still very shaky. And so what you want is for the Chiefs offense to be on the sidelines for most of the game. That way the Patriots can limit the opportunities that the Chiefs have of scoring. So you want to keep them on the sidelines as much as possible. However, if the run doesn't work, I think the Patriots also have an advantage as far as passing the ball because the Kansas City Chiefs are ranked 31st as far as passing yardage. So they're the second worst team as far as passing defense to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, I mean, that's the team that allowed 6 touchdowns to Mitchell Trubisky. So my prediction for this game is that I think the Patriots are going to win this game. It's going to be a tough task, but I think the Patriots can pull it out. I don't expect to see much defense, so I think this is going to be a shootout. I remember last week I said that Colts, Patriots, I thought at first was going to be a shootout until I heard T.Y. Hilton was out. I truly think this is going to be a shootout because these are two really good offenses with two really good quarterbacks against really, really terrible defenses. And the Patriots are at home, and in Gillette Stadium, with quarterbacks that are 25 and under, Belichick is 1-41, and those quarterbacks have had 43 touchdowns to 46 interceptions, and the only quarterback with a win that was under 25. You guys want to guess who it was? It was Colin Kaepernick back in 2012, when he was with that really good Niners team. Plus, you give 10 days to Bill Belichick. He'll cook up something for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So I'm going pretty big as far as prediction because I honestly don't see a ton of defense in this game. So I'm going to go Patriots 43 to Chiefs 38. So I believe this is going to be a shootout in which I think fantasy owners of both teams are going to be pretty happy. But I got the Patriots in this one. All right then, why don't we take another break, and when we come back, the three games that the Bruins won this week during their 4-game win streak. Hello, welcome back to J-Ho, the sports dude at WMUA. Up next is the Bruins, who won 3 games this week. So that now the Bruins have a 4-game win streak. So good way to rebound after losing really badly to the Capitals during the first game. So let's start with the Bruins playing the Ottawa Senators. So the Bruins won this game 6-3. So Patrice Bergeron was definitely the star of this game with 3 goals and 1 assist. So he got the hat trick. And funny enough, one of the hats that was thrown onto the ice, because during the when Patrice Bergeron had the hat trick, was a cowboy hat, and he decided to keep it for himself. And David Pastrnak also had 2 goals and 2 assists, and Brad Marchand had 3 assists in the game. So another great performance by the top line of the Bruins. Also, Charlie McAvoy had 3 assists as well. And Tuukka Rask had an okay game. Considering the last time we saw him, I would say this is a okay bounce back, even though his job was essentially just to not blow the game. He had 31 saves, and he allowed 3 goals. 2 of the goals were actually from, 2 of those goals were long slap shots from Ryan Dzingel, who was the star for the Ottawa Senators. So that was a bit discouraging, but the Bruins still won 6-3. And as far as the stats, they were mostly pretty even. The Ottawa Senators had a slight edge as far as shots. They had 31, Bruins had 30. As far as hits, the Ottawa Senators had 17 and Bruins had 18. So the Bruins had a slight edge, and the Ottawa Senators had 36 faceoff wins, and the Bruins had 27. And however, the Ottawa Senators were 0-3 on the power play, and the Bruins were 1-2. So for the most part, the stats look pretty even, but it was a good offensive showing for the Bruins, and they got the win. All right, the next game was the Bruins played the Ottawa Senators, in which they won 4-1. So in the first period, Connor McDavid scored the first goal, but after that, the Bruins basically controlled the game. David Pastrnak tied the game with a power play goal, and then after that, Brad Marchand and Hakeem Nordstrom had back-to-back goals in a 36-second span, which gave Boston a 3-1 lead, all in the first period. After that, the defense prevented any more goals from Edmonton, and at the end, Patrice Bergeron scored an empty net goal, and the Bruins won 4-1. So for the most part, the Bruins simply just dominated this game. The Bruins had 32 shots. The Oilers had 26 shots. The Bruins had 32 face-off wins, while the Oilers had 20. The Bruins were 2 for 4 on the power play, and Edmonton was 0 for 2. And the Bruins also had 21 takeaways, while the Oilers only had 12. So basically, the Bruins just completely dominated this game. So it was basically a team effort overall. So Patrice Bergeron had a goal and an assist. David Krejci had an assist. Brad Marchand had a goal. Hakeem Nordstrom had a goal. David Pastrnak had a goal. And Matt Grzelcyk had 2 assists as well. And Horoslav Halak also had a really good game with 25 saves and only allowing 1 goal in the first period to Connor McDavid, who is probably, if not the best, maybe the second best player in the NHL. I think at this point he might be the best player in the NHL. So overall, a pretty dominant, I would say, win over the Edmonton Oilers. And so, all right, moving on to the next game is the Detroit Red Wings against the Boston Bruins, in which the Bruins won 8-2. So this was a complete thrashing. So David Pastrnak was the star of this game with 3 goals and getting a hat trick. So the second hat trick of the week. And David Pastrnak surpassed the 100-goal mark with his second goal. So now he has 101 goals in his career, which has only actually been 3 whole seasons with the Bruins. So pretty impressive. So Patrice Bergeron also had 3 assists. Jake DeBrusk also had 2 goals as well. David Krejci had 2 assists. And Brandon Carlo also had 2 assists. And Charlie McAvoy and Anders Burke also had goals, so plenty of goals to go around. And Tuukka Rask blocked 34 shots and allowed just 2 goals, which was enough to blow the Detroit Red Wings out of the building. And actually for this game, the stats look pretty even, but as you could tell by the score, it was definitely not an even game. Bruins had 39 shots. The Red Wings had 34. Face-off wins, Bruins had 35. Red Wings had 33. Both teams were 1-3 on the power play. And the Bruins had 15 takeaways, and the Red Wings had 14. So most of the stats look pretty even though, as you can look at the score, it definitely was not an evenly played game. So Bruins have won 4 straight games in a row. They have 8 points, and right now they are second in the Atlantic Division behind the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are 5-1. So the Bruins have definitely rebounded back from their Week 1 loss to the Washington Capitals. So I think right now the only question is, are the Bruins back to being the Stanley Cup form that they were last year, or are the Bruins just taking advantage of just playing some really, really bad teams? Like the Ottawa Senators are 2-3, the Edmonton Oilers are 1-2, and the Detroit Red Wings are 0-5. So these are not exactly Stanley Cup contenders, I would say. So you could definitely make the case that the Bruins are just taking advantage of just playing terrible teams, but you can only play who is in front of you. And when you're a Stanley Cup contender and you're playing terrible teams, you just dominate them. And the Bruins have dominated these 3 games. So I still think this is a good sign, definitely, for the Bruins. And like I said before, I think Tuukka Rask is still the starter for now, but honestly, I'm not really sure how much longer Tuukka Rask is going to be the starter. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So hopefully the Bruins can keep this up as they play the Calgary Flames next, who are 2-2. All right, I think that'll be it. And so thank you for listening.